Hey everybody, it's me again. Yeah, it's a beautiful Saturday. In fact, it's already nice and toasty out here today where I'm at, so I'm out in the boonies. I'm gonna be here for a little while longer, it looks like. Anyway, so we've been talking about pretty darn good energy over the last 2 weeks. It looked a little bit suspicious at first, but it's been getting clearer and clearer every day so far. So we can see that these legal battles, for example, that seem to be coming up for some of us, may actually have something to do with an inheritance or some type of financial, windfall that you're about to get or receive. So, hallelujah. Yeah, I hope it's the same thing for me as well. So, lots of positive, energy in terms of protection, in terms of, defense if you're being attacked, whether it's psychically, spiritually, or physically. You have all the energy that you need necessary to overcome any of those things. Same thing with the court battle. Remember, some of these runes are very specific to that endeavor as well. And with multiple other runes throughout the week that were indicating that indeed this legal battle may be quite a reality for some of you out there. And rest assured, even though it may not appear at first to be so, or it may be an uphill climb, which has also been indicated to us, a long journey ahead, that things are going to work out in the end, so persevere. Remember, I told you perseverance goes a long ways in the eyes of the gods. So try to persevere. And I've been persevering for a long time. So I'm hoping that that definitely has, the gods smiling down at me, if you will. My higher self is also, I think you'd be saying, coming more at peace with itself, in spite of being in occupied territory, hostile land, if you will, in many cases, because that's what this is. If you're a spiritual being on any level, I'm not saying religious, I said spiritual, there's a significant difference. Spirituality is you're basically part of a club, and you think by being in that club you're going to earn your way to some place. Where spirituality says you're taking responsibility for your own personal journey, for your good and your bad traits. You're coming face to face with your demons, and you're looking them straight in the eye and saying, I'm in control, not you. And then you're dealing with it, not saying, it's just been taken away because I said a word or two, insincere, at best. Yeah, sure, you want all the good things in life. You look at God as a genie, but that's not the way it works. There are certain laws in our universe. You can call it the Hermetic principles, and you can call them simply the laws of physics, but they're also spiritual principles as well as scientific and esoteric. And one of those laws deals with balance or reciprocity. There has to be reciprocity in every relationship. So there's nothing wrong with breaking off a relationship if there is no reciprocity. And what do I mean by that? If you're giving and the other person is simply doing all the receiving, you're getting nothing back in terms of their time, their effort, any of their energy for that matter, then let that person go. And that's just because they are basically acting as a spiritual parasite of sorts. Now, of course, we can get that wrong from time to time too. Everybody goes through things, and sometimes it's not well known what it is they're going through. That is true. But once you come to the conclusion that, again, this is the truth for you, where you're doing all the giving and the other person or people are doing all the receiving, and it's draining you of your energy, that's a very real thing. Spiritual parasites or vampires exist. It's one of those things we find endemic in every culture. It may be looked at differently or described in forms of symbolism in mythologies, but they're always classified or spoken of in such a way. And it's took me almost my whole life to figure, some of these things out, because I was, as an empath, and I presume that if you're on a spiritual journey, you too have at least some level of empathic nature or empathy. You do feel other people's pain. You do feel other people's situations, and you can put yourself in their shoes very easily. And you want to help. You want to help others. You want to help, the world heal. You want to help Mother Nature heal. If you have those qualities about you, then you are an empath, which means you also are only a breath away from becoming intuitive or psychic. Those things seem to go hand in hand. And again, these truths, they came to me over many, many years of reflection. So I'm sharing everything that I know so you don't have to go through that same painful burden. You can pick up on these truths. Of course, evaluate them, examine them to see if they are indeed true for you. If it resonates with you, in other words, it feels right to you, accept it. And then move on from that. I'm giving you a fundamental building block for your foundation to help you to move forward in a mighty way. Because trial and error is going to come. And the more deeply spiritual you become, the harder those trials and errors will, be. But you are also given incrementally along the way through those cycles that you've completed, rebirth, a new cycle, another completion, and so on and so forth. You get calluses, so to speak, on your spirit. Or you build spiritual muscle where you can actually handle, the things that have been happening to you in the past and more. Now, I know that's, not something that we want to hear, but inevitably trials are going to happen to each and every one of us unless you have excellent dharma, which means throughout your lifetimes you've already paid off all of your karma. Now, I presumably have, and I still have other things that I'm doing as well. I'm throwing off many of the I guess you could say curses from my ancestry. It's one of the things that I more or less agreed to do when I came back in this lifetime. And again, I know that not everybody believes in multiple lives or reincarnation. I didn't either until fairly recently, to be honest with you, but the more I looked at it from every different angle, the more it made sense to me. Let's face it, some people die when before they're even born. Some people die, when they're very, very young. They haven't had the opportunity to live a life or anything like that. And I know the Christian perspective on that is because they're not at the age of accountability, they go straight to heaven and so on. But that doesn't really make sense to me. They want spirits to grow, to become more mature, to become perhaps even of an angelic nature or of a level equal to, remember now, even Christianity says that you were created a little above the angels. Now, that's hard to understand or reckon, but that's what it says. So, I just say that whatever you do, try to do what your heart tells you, not always what your mind tells you to do. Your heart's not going to lie to you. I know the Bible says the heart is despitefully wicked. Who can trust it or understand it, basically? But, I hate to say it, but some of the Bible, in my opinion, was put together, or certain books or certain parts of books were added to that under the Council of Nicaea, I think, to propel an agenda. Because remember, Constantine was certainly nothing resembling a Christian at all, but he was a great leader, and he saw the up-and-coming movement of Christianity that, even with Rome's best efforts, was not able to squash, and they were growing exponentially and out of their control. So they brought them together under their umbrella, and they fused together a lot of the paganism with it as well, which we can clearly see. If you're open-minded, you can see the paganism, or the meshing, if you will, of the old world with Christianity. So, but the point is, there are so many other books. The other Christians of those days, the Gnostics, and in some ways were far more, I guess you could say, spiritual in their actual day-to-day lives. They weren't talking the talk. They were walking the walk. some say that possibly, now I don't know, I mean, I've seen the counter arguments to this too, that John the Baptist himself may have been a Gnostic. They say that maybe Jesus himself may have actually been a Gnostic in his beliefs. They also say he may have actually spent time in India in those missing 30 years of his life. And there are writings in India also that seem to indicate there's a very likely possibility that was true. So he was teaching deeper truths that we can also see echoed in other holy books, like in the Hindu text, for example. Now, I'm just saying to keep an open mind when it comes to spirituality, because nobody else is held responsible for you but you. I mean, you can't go run to mommy or daddy. If their advice is not proper advice and you turn to them and heed their advice, it doesn't matter whether you thought you were doing the right thing by listening to them. In the end, you are responsible for you, nobody else. So make sure that you take that quite seriously. And then, I think that with that, you're going to start to live a more magical life. And that's not to say it's not going to have its hills. You're going to have your hills and your valleys. But, that's a part of the world. That's the part of the universe. The universe has cycles, and we see that in the form of seasons here on Earth and many other things, trials, tribulations for us. Those are all cycles. So we can get past those cycles better and with more courage and discipline if we start to understand these types of things a little bit more. All right. So I've got my I will defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic t-shirt on today in honor of my other side. Some might call it the devil's side. I don't think so. Anything dealing with freedom, I believe, is more of an angelic or of a positive or of the light, not the darkness. And that's all I seek, is seek for freedom for myself and for everybody else. And the only way to do that is to have truth. Jesus himself said he was the truth, the way, and the life, right? Nobody comes unto the Father except through him. And take that however you and your teaching and your beliefs reckon you to believe that. That's fine. That's not the point. He also says, in other parts of the Bible, in the books of Proverbs, for example, and other books, something to the tune of, unless you seek for truth like you would for buried treasure, you're never going to find any. And I assure you, you are not going to find it from your public informational media sources. I don't care what you watch, whether it's Fox, NBC, ABC, CBS, PBS, it doesn't matter. Every one of them is owned and operated by a very small number. I mean, you can put them on one hand of power brokers in our world today. In fact, it's even in the congressional record. You can look up the 64th congressional record, and it's in page 2,900 something, I think it is. I don't know the exact page by memory, but it's a very lengthy report. And in that report, Senator Callaway at that time in 1917 entered into the record that J.P. Morgan and his ilk bought up, I think it was 200, or they started off at 200 of the largest news agencies of its day, and then found out the most, if you will, influential ones and bought those 25 papers. And they did that in 1915. It was entered in the record in 1917. So we have physical proof within the congressional record itself, and much of what I talk about does come from the conspirators themselves. Some within Congress, for example, are conspirators. And today, it's particular, that's more largely the case than not. Same thing with our Senate, same thing with our judiciary, our executive branch, certainly. You don't get to those levels of power unless you are, financed or very much a part of their agenda. Trust me. And there's a lot I could say about that. But this is not about conspiracies. I just wanted to share a little bit of information as we go along to give you a better feel for who I am, and that indeed I am very well read in these things. That doesn't mean I know everything. I'm constantly learning. and I change my points of view based on the information that I acquire over time. That doesn't mean I believe anything that I hear from any source or any book or any documentary or video or anything of that nature till I've proven it to myself many times over. So this is just one example. In other words, you have to look for the truth yourself with the same fervor as somebody going out there and wanting the wealth that would come from a buried treasure that they uncover. Okay? And that's what truth actually is for you in the world. Not just this world, but the spiritual world as well. So handle truth in that light, and you are my brother, you are my sister, no matter who and what and whatever you may have done in your past. We are brothers and we are sisters in this fight. I may be of Viking heritage, you may be of, we'll say, Asian heritage or African heritage. You are my brothers, you are my sisters. I see only the human race. I don't see color, I don't see ethnicity, I don't see gender, I don't see any of that kind of stuff, you know? I see those who are of like spirit and mind, and those who are lost to this world, the Agent Smiths of this world, the soulless beings of this world, those who add to the misery and not to the freedom that we all seek and pray for, hope for, want, and long for in this world. So I hope that you are among those people. Now, with that being said, let's recap the week, okay? Now remember, the overall energy of the week was very, very good. It's Sowilo. Now, Sowilo, of course, is the sun card in the tarot, or it's the equivalent of the same. And with the sun comes our life force. It's what gives all things life. Okay, so it's of utmost importance. It also gives us, or grants us victory, power. It's used in terms of attack, as well as enlightenment and honor. So very, very excellent energy for this entire week. And that, of course, goes along with, you know, the 5 other positive runes. We only got 1 out of the 6 days that was negative, and that was Othala in the reverse. Now, Othala in the reverse means, again, recklessness, frustration, legal problems, which we've been talking about for 2 weeks straight now, hassles, poverty, and possible homelessness. Okay? But then we had that offset by Gebo, Esau, Othala in the upright, Algis, and again Othala in the upright. We've had Othala 3 times in this week. And in the upright, which we had twice, that's very positive. It means your inheritances, your legacies, your estate, family, ancestry, heritage, and property. Goes perfectly along the lines of this legal battle, which may actually be centered around some type of inheritance or possibly a large windfall that's being given to you, whether it's a lawsuit or something else. It will be different for everybody out there. So claim that shit. That's mine. You know? So we had that, like I said, twice throughout the week. The Gebo is the lucky rune. It's like X marks the spot on a treasure map. It gives us journeys and things of that nature, greed. It talks about gifts and gifting, equal exchanges, talks about offering partners, divine unions, love, all the positive attributes that come between interacting with another. Okay? Very, very good stuff. So you may also have something new coming in if you're single out there as well. And again, that's, you know, I'm keeping my doors open for that possibility as well. I pretty much gave up on love when I realized most of the people that I've had in my life, because I'm empathic, were there simply to absorb my energy. They benefited from that. Once I cut them off, they're all being basically, they're trying to come back. Many of them are. And they're trying to come back because now they're suffering the repercussions of the things that they did. So I didn't seek revenge or any of those types of things. I let the cards fall where they were. I spoke my truth. That truth resonated, and basically the Most High is doing everything that needs to be done. So it's humbling them, and hopefully as a result will actually lead them to some form of repentance and in growth, because they've been stagnant for the majority of their lives, repeating cycles like we talked about yesterday. Now, the other energy that we had on Thursday was Algaz. Algaz in the upright. Again, a very positive rune. Stands for protection, defense, again, friendship, your soul, and guardianship. Guarding yourself, but guarding others, or the desire to guard others, protect others. So, all very good energy. Now, when I pulled for the week in advance on Sunday, last Sunday, what I got for this day was Ewas. I'm sorry, yeah, Ewas. Ewas in reverse. Now, Ewas in reverse is not necessarily a bad rune per se, and once again, it's echoing the reality of this being a long journey ahead. It has been for me. I hope, and I pray that it's not as long for you, I should say, because it's very difficult to endure when it continues on and on and on and on and on. But, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. What it also stands for is selfishness. It stands for long journeys, like I said, changes, timing, feeling confined, feeling restricted, and possible mistrust. All these types of things are covered under that particular rune for today. So yesterday was an excellent day as far as energetically. Let's go ahead and see what we have for today. Now, I've already called upon, I've already prayed, meditated, I've already asked Odin, for guidance for today, for the collective. So let's go ahead and pull for the present. I get energy for today, too, please. Energy for the present, and thank you. Thank you. What is the present energy for my collective today? Oh, man. Another great rune. That's Gebo, letter G in their alphabet. And again, Gebo is X marks the spot. Positive rune. Very, very much so. Gifts, equal exchange, equal giving. The reciprocity I was referring to earlier today. Partners, divine unions, marriage, love, all of those positive attributes if you're looking for that. It doesn't necessarily, I should say, just talk about a man and a woman. Many of the other cultures also spoke about, people having love for who they have love with. And frankly, I'm neutral in that regard. Whatever it is that you love, what feels right to you, not that you were coerced into believing in some public educational forum or something like that, but you are truly, in your heart, you feel that is right for you, and that's what you love, then, all the power to you, And that's my personal thoughts, my convictions. And I know what the Abrahamic faiths say about that. I do. But I also know what the other world faiths and the indigenous faiths say about that as well. I know what feels right to me. So I got people in my life that I love dearly who are of that particular persuasion. And I say I don't see them any different whatsoever. So, in fact, some of them are some of the best people I know. Not all of them. I mean, they have personalities, and, they're all different too. But I just wanted to make that clear, okay, because I don't think everything is black and white as, certain faiths want you to believe. And anything to me that divides is not of the light. So I believe that religions, organized religions, are used more or less as a way of gaining and maintaining control for that organization. I think spirituality is a private, personal endeavor. That doesn't mean you can't have other people that worship with you or even share in that. I mean, I do believe also that when two become one, that basically, the spiritual aspect of that is vitally important. If you both are resonating on a similar frequency and everything else, that love is going to be far greater than anything that could ever be achieved from a physical perspective alone. So, and that took me a long time. I only operated, earlier on my life, like most people. Oh, they're pretty, or, they got a great body, or whatever the case may be. And I'm just speaking truth, okay? And that is what draws us usually at first. But then you get to know their character to some degree. But people can put on a mask, and some people are very good at pretending. So you have to be able to see beyond the illusions, beyond the masks. And that is only achieved with some level of spiritual enlightenment and growth. Otherwise, you are going to be deceived, and you're going to be miserable in the end, trust me. All right. So Gebo is an excellent way to start the day off. Let's go see what kind of influences we have pulling on us left and right in this runic river. And to recap, the runic river is basically imitating the idea of fate. Fate itself as it moves past you. You're in a river of fate, okay? What you are experiencing as it goes past you at different speeds, sometimes slow, sometimes easy, sometimes very quick, and you're having a hard time maintaining your balance, right? And sometimes you have influences, eddies, and so on that are pushing you either to the left or to the right in that. That's what we're going to look at next. And of course, what's already happened behind us, what's already flowed past us in terms of fate, is our past. What has yet to come through to us is our future. So that's what it more or less symbolizes, okay? So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at, right now, the types of influences that are influences, the positive aspect of Gebo for today. What are some influences for today, please? And thank you. Positive influences for today, and thank you. I keep saying positive. Well, it's, whatever they give us. Ah, damn it. Well, we got Algus, only this time, if you can see it, it's in the reverse. Now again, Algus is a symbol of peace and so on, and it was adopted in the 1930s and so on by Winston Churchill, who used to come out there and flash the peace sign, and it was adopted later on in the peace movement of the 1960s. But it actually comes from the Norse, okay? And what Algus actually stands for in the reverse is waiting, being misled, possibly being used by others, feeling vulnerable, loss of your divine link, and taboos. So, I mean, if you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, if you're looking into the dark side, for example, you are going to lose your divine link, at some point. He's going to give you every possible chance to repent of what you're doing. And I get that same thing from almost every faith. Now, we have trickster spirits as well, as we see it's endemic in personalities such as Loki and many others in mythology, whether it's Egyptian or otherwise. But we're talking about those who are truly pursuing evil for the sake of their own self-grandeur. If that's what you're up to, that may be reflected in this particular rune here, okay? So if you're not doing that, it just means that you have to be on the defense and protect yourself. You may be actually being used by other people in your life, so be aware of that. You may be feeling a little bit vulnerable at this time as well. So, and remember, that's an influence. And that basically is the counter-influence to Gebo. But Gebo is a much more powerful influence in regards to this. If more or less, if anything else, if at the extreme, all that would do would be equalizing those energies out. It wouldn't be negating them at all. So just be on your toes in this. Let's get another influence. Another influence, please, for today. Saturday the 7th, and please, positive influences for my collective. Positive influences, please. What can we get here? Well, Dagaz. We've had that in the past as well. Dagaz is the letter D in the Nordic alphabet. And Dagaz is a pretty, it's not overly powerful in the sense of comparing it to like Thurisaz or Iwas or some of those runes. But it talks about daybreak, day, dawn, transformation and balance. Again, balance is something that's echoed in every religious belief system to some degree. Even the occult. Like I said, I've studied the occult, even the darkest of the dark. Things that'll actually have their hair, raising up on your arms and stuff like that as you're reading through it. I've looked at all the different types, both white and, so-called dark magic. And I don't practice them per se. I do believe in, the power of my will and projection. I do believe in the power of maintaining my energetic force, my life force, so that I can actually produce positive things into my life. Now, the world will test you, trust me, to more or less refine that belief. And that's kind of where I'm going through right now. Again, I'm going through various cycles. This one has been the most extreme in my life so far. So I'm going to get through it. And I know you can too, when you understand that at the end of that, you're going to be granted a little bit more power. But with more power comes more responsibility. So your next cycle, although it's going to have positive aspects, you have your peaks, you have your troughs, if you will. So, and those troughs where you're going to be tested to see if you get past and able to move forward to the next cycle. All right, so it means daybreak, dawn, transformation, balance, ambition, and growth. All right, so I too am also going through all of that. It's kind of what helped me to start this channel off. I don't have ambition to make money. I mean, Lord knows I need money right now, but I've done well for myself the majority of my life. I've risen up very quickly in the ranks of everywhere I've gone, military and civilian. I exceeded the majority of those who were also in the same industry in all of those endeavors. But, you know, sometimes we make tough decisions and we have to stick to those tough decisions knowing that it is indeed a test, even if it leads to being, you know, even destitute. We have to get through it to get to the other side. If this is a test for me right now. Now, let me give you the opposite end of that too, because Dagaz is one of the 9 runes that is not reversible. It comes out the same no matter what. So we have to go on the feel of it. And I do, in this case, feel that indeed this is a positive aspect of Dagaz. So hold on to that. But I'm still going to give you the reverse, which means attitudes, radical changes, completion, endings, limits, blindness, and hopelessness. Okay? And certainly you are left with one of those two decisions. Are you going to succumb to your outward, predicament, or are you going to persevere again in spite of it? Try to find the light. Try to find the goodness in it. That's what I recommend. That's what I seek to do each and every day, as hard as it is. And if you're going through that too, you have my prayers and you have my utmost, help if you need it. Hit me up or with a comment if you wish to talk about it, whatever it is. I mean, I know you don't know me, and I get that. I do. But on the other side of that, I have been through a lot of experiences. I'm much older than I look. If you do want or need somebody to talk to, I'm fairly decent at, giving good advice and things of that nature, or at the very least, listening. Okay? So if you just want to go ahead and have an ear to listen, I'm all ears. All right, and finally, we've got to pull a rune out for the future for today. And again, the future we usually associate with sometime throughout today, but it could extend beyond this day. Again, since energy is fluid and the rate at which fate is going past each and every one of us differs, sometimes very slowly, almost at a standstill. Others, it's going very, very fast, and it's hard just to maintain your balance. Okay? That's kind of where I'm at this point. Okay? So, let's see. In other words, it could be 5 minutes from now, or it could be even days from now. Let's see what the future is for today. What is the future for today? And thank you. What is the future for my collective? Thank you. Gebo again. What are the odds? And again, I'm taking that as a positive because that's the way it feels to me. Gebo twice in the same reading. That's like getting 2 major arcana out of a 5-card read that are identical and in the upright. That's uncalled. That's just not seen very often. So that's very, very, very positive. And to recap, Gebo again is gift, equal exchanges, reciprocity, the very thing I went in discussion about before this reading even took place. So that's a very positive thing. So with the overall being Sowilo, very, very powerful and positive. and our future being Gebo, it looks like you're going to be doing quite well for yourself out there. So I wish you all a very wonderful Saturday. I'm going to try to do an entire week's reading again tomorrow on Sunday. In the beauty of nature, I found my very favorite spot here. There's, even when there are people here, which there are very few at all, as far as the eye can see, this is pretty much an isolated spot. So, but there's trees all around me, including some ancient ones, it looks like, some very big trees. So, we can generate energy and power and wisdom there too. So, again, I wish you all the very best, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye.